Loving your neighbour is not a new commandment. John tells you that. Isaiah 42 tells you that. The Messiah was always going to come and refresh the covenant made at Horeb, Deuteronomy 18. He's going to come and teach everything that Israel desired at Horeb, which was the 10 Commandments. Go and read Deuteronomy 9, Deuteronomy 4, Deuteronomy 5. Get the whole picture. The sacrificial law was added to that covenant when Israel transgressed with the golden calf. The Messiah was coming to end the sacrificial law, the punishment, the schoolmaster, and teach the 10 Commandments. Because when you keep and teach the 10 Commandments, God dwells with you. And that's literally the whole point, because you need to be born of spirit to enter the kingdom. So when you teach people to keep the 10 Commandments and they actually do it in faith, God can dwell with them and they can enter the kingdom, and therefore they can pick up their shepherd's staff and get to work and go and tell other people to keep the 10 Commandments. What I've just described there is the refreshing of the Holy Covenant, the refreshing of the 10 Commandments. Acts 3 tells you that the first coming of the Messiah is the refreshing not the refreshing of all things, the times of refreshing. But the restitution of all things is his second coming, when he comes with the 144,000, which the 144,000 is New Jerusalem. So the Messiah comes with New Jerusalem. And guess what New Jerusalem is? The new covenant. Because Israel and Judah, if you actually read Jeremiah 30 and 31 to get the context of the new covenant, you can't go wrong. Because Jeremiah 30:31 tells you that the second Exodus has to happen, which is the gathering of his people from the four corners. Israel and Judah. Israel's scattered into the Gentiles right now. And the second Exodus is basically Israel and Judah being made one, and they travel. It's going to start in America. I don't want to get too deep into that. But they travel to the land, basically. God gathers them from all four corners of the earth, and they end up in New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem is where the new covenant is made. That's why it says the times are coming after the second Exodus, after Great Tribulation, when Yeshua comes for the second time with his angels, with New Jerusalem, that the new covenant will be made. Israel and Judah, the two sticks become one, like Ezekiel 37 says. And no one will have to teach anyone to know God, because all will know God. What did the Messiah command us and elevate over everything before he died? Love your neighbour as yourself. That is literally, by definition, not a new commandment. It's a fresh commandment. The word is fresh. It has been refreshed. Because he's quoting Leviticus 19, that tells you to loving your neighbour as yourself means to rebuke them in righteousness, in righteous judgment. The Messiah says, I don't judge no man by the flesh, by the sacrificial law that was added, because I'm coming to get rid of that. I'm coming to bring light to these dark sayings for you, so that you just keep the covenant, God can dwell with you, and then he'll teach you all things. What's even more ironic is that you're still calling him Jesus. No wonder, because the Messiah, Yeshua, or Joshua in English, that's his name, even tells you in John 5:42-43, I know you. I know that you don't keep the 10 Commandments. I know that you don't have the love of God in you. Because if you had the love of God in you, you would know that the Messiah was always going to come in his Father's name, which is Jehovah. Jesus didn't come in Jehovah's name. Isaiah 56. My salvation is near to come. Salvation is Yeshua. If you even look in Zechariah, you're going to see that it's Joshua the high priest. It's talking about Yeshua. Jesus does not equal Joshua. It's not the same name. But if you kept the 10 Commandments and understood the refreshing of the covenant and stopped spreading lies on when people are, I'm literally trying to find the lost sheep of the house of Israel and show them the truth that they've always been looking for, and you're getting in the way of that. Do you realize how dangerous this situation is right now? His name's Yeshua. We're not in the new covenant yet, because if we were, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Because the new covenant, you don't have to teach anyone to know God, because all will know God. What does it mean to know God when you keep his commandments? What commandments? The commandments given at Horeb, before the sacrificial law was added. We're in the refreshing, times of refreshing right now, waiting for the new covenant, the restitution of all things. See it as the engagement period right now. And then we're waiting for the marriage. 1 John 3. Yes, loving your neighbour as yourself means you rebuke people for breaking the 10 Commandments. That's the refreshing of the covenant. Go and learn what this means. I will have mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Because mercy and the knowledge of God means that you keep the commandments, you keep the covenant. But they preferred sacrifice because sacrificial law was added. They transgressed those commandments. Ten Commandments, sacrificial law. We're no longer under the law, but you've got to keep the Ten Commandments to receive the Spirit of truth.